what happens. Okay, it says we're live.
Oh.
We'll have to check it out. So let me just close up some things.
Yeah, I know. I seem to have a lot of things open myself.
All right, let's see. All right, so right now, I don't know if anybody's on yet. I don't think anybody's on. It says 0. But
I don't know. Let me, yeah. I'm just going to get into
one person on, and I can't see who it is. Hey, so we're just trying to make sure that we're on, and I think we're good. We have people on.
Master the technology.
It's here, and then somebody else said they're here, but I can't see their name. But it'll show up. Hey, JD. JD's here. All right, we definitely have people on, so that's fun. Okay, great. It's working. Hey, all right. I don't know. I can't see everybody's name, unfortunately. So if I say hi, it's because I don't know. It just says Facebook user. And it doesn't, and it's like a delayed reaction because if I go on my phone, it doesn't tell me right away that somebody's commenting.
So. No, sorry, I'm still trying to pull up the live and I don't know what's going on, but it just doesn't seem to want to show me itself. Oh, there we are. Look. Hello. Just saying hello to myself.
Is it going on in your group too? Like I'm pretty sure I see it in Soul Strength.
Yes, it's in both of our groups.
Hey, Justina and Kelly. Justina and Kelly are here from Soul Strength.
Hello, Lisa. I've got Lisa here in my group as well. Lovely to see you.
All right. All right. So I messaged Bron like an hour ago and I was like, hey, do you want to do a live reading tonight? Just because Bron and I haven't read together or done anything together in the past like couple months because of how crazy things are. Go to StreamYard and see them. I'm actually in StreamYard right now, but I don't know, JD. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yes. Okay. Oh, hey, JD. Hello. Yeah. You've got to, I think viewers need to register with StreamYard or something for us to see the names in StreamYard. So I don't know. It's a big.
Okay, yeah. Technology, it's like we need it, but then it just makes us also frazzled. It drives me crazy. We're doing a project at school where we need the internet for the kids to do research on a vacation destination. It's actually such a cool project. And then we didn't have internet yesterday. So it literally destroyed the entire week's plans because of technology.
I think it's here to keep us humble or something. I don't know.
And it's, I guess, Mercury retrograde. So
right.
Are we surprised? All right. So we decided to do an impromptu live because it is the beginning of Libra season. We just transitioned. We've had a lot of energy shifts happening, seasonal changes, and it's a big deal. And the more we pay attention to it and the more we start to explore what these shifts in energy and seasons really bring to our lives, the more we can use that energy and work with that energy and be active co-creators with that energy. So that's why I was like, hey, let's do this. And Bron, of course, is always like, okay, let's do it. So we'll see what comes up tonight.
Yes. Saturday morning here, I'm, kicking back. I thought, well, I'd better get out of my pajamas then because I was having a lazy pajama morning.
Control your Saturday morning.
Totally okay.
All right. Well, that's good. All right. So how do we want to start off? Do we want to start off pulling? Do we want to start off with like a little visualization? What do you feel like doing?
Maybe an intention setting. I think if everybody who's here, whether you're joining live or on replay, for those on replay, you might have a bit of a benefit of time on your side because you can pause the replay and have a contemplation about this for those of you. However, I would suggest the longer we contemplate something and hesitate over it, the less aligned potentially it is with our soul's path and purpose. So, if we can make a decision quickly in the moment, I always feel whatever we're choosing at that point is aligned with our soul's path and we are being guided that way. So I guess
it's really interesting that you're bringing up choice right now. My sister did a reading today that came up. So it's really interesting.
Look, it's been coming up a lot. For me, I've actually been doing a lot of research and study on decision-making and over the last couple of weeks, funnily enough, It's really been on my radar. And I did a reading in This Is Where the Magic Happens. Hello, Amanda. On I can't remember when. It was the Piscean full moon reading. I can't remember when. And it was all a lot about decision making. And essentially, you know, we make choices and decisions by default, and you know, we use our current paradigm and our current reality and what we know to be real for us now to make decisions. But in doing so, we're boxing ourselves into that paradigm. We're not pushing beyond the boundaries of it to create something new. And I think this is really what we're being called to do individually and collectively, very much so at this point. And it's like, if you are trying to create something that is not in alignment with your soul's code and your path and your calling, sorry to say, but you know, it's just you're going to keep getting smacked upside the head with it more and more until you give in, until you and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this collectively. You know, we're seeing the paradigm pushing back. And that's just naturally going to happen. This is how energy works. It's not because the paradigm is bad and this is good, or that is this, or that is that. It is just how energy works. We've got two paradigms sort of pushing against each other and creating this tension to birth something new. But we must decide. We must be the master of that choice and that decision, and then take imperfect action. Right? Not keep checking in with everybody else, not keep checking in with the news, not keep going, what's the dollar doing? What's this doing? What's the economy going to do now? What's my employer going to do? What's that? What's going to happen with that? Forget the current information around you. The current information around you is kind of faulty at this point because it's full of fear. It's a fear-driven narrative, and therefore we're getting a lot of fear-based information fed to us. It's about, and what I'm seeing a lot of too, and I'm noticing in heaps of posts, is people saying, take a break off social media, do a social media detox, right? Yeah. Take even half a day. And when I read even half a day, I was like, holy shitballs. How many of us sit on social media and we don't even contemplate that, you know, we've spent potentially an entire day going on and off platforms, especially those of us who work on social media.
Absolutely.
Connecting with people, and you know, we're just, our minds are just absorbing all of this information. Our unconscious is absorbing all of this information, and we are building on our paradigm. So it's about, what now do we want to create? What do we want to do differently? And this is the choice that we're being asked to make. And so I think it's a beautiful time when we're looking at Libra and, you know, balance. I always think of balance as just the dualities working together. You know, I was talking to a client yesterday about this, and I said, often we think of, you know, we've got a goal and an objective, but then we think about all the details, you know, the planning, how am I going to get there? Oh, but I don't have the money for that right now. How am I going to get the money? What am I going to do to get that money? And we go into all of this like planning. And, you know, they say the devil's in the details, right? It's the ego. The ego is the little devil sitting on this shoulder going, are you sure you want to do that? Do you remember last time you tried to do something like that and you failed and you look like a total dickhead? Do you remember the time that you tried to do something like that and you went bankrupt? Oh my OMG. I don't think you want to do that. And how would you do it anyway? Because you don't have enough money. Like, you don't have enough time. You don't have enough energy. You're tired. You're this. You know what I mean? It's the little voice that is, it's the devil wanting to keep you small and safe. And then you've got the divine sitting on this shoulder, which is the superconscious, the soul's code, the soul's calling. And it is saying to you, it's okay. You're held, you're safe. We've got this. Let's go. Let's make a choice. Let's take imperfect action. We are all here in one big, giant experiment. True. This has never been done before. I can quantifiably tell you that. Hey, Kate.
Hi. I can't. I wish I could see people.
I've just got my group open. So that's,
you know, when we think about the Libran energy with what you're saying, though, because what you're saying, I totally agree with. Libra as an archetype. So right now, when we're in Libra season, we're working with this archetypal energy, whether we have Libra heavily in our charts or not. Happy birthday to all of the Libras, by the way. But regardless, in fact, you can even look a little bit more deeply of where Libra falls on your chart. What are the other energies influencing this for you? Because it will matter. It will affect you right now. But right now for the collective, when we think of, I got to turn my phone off. Sorry. Oh my gosh. You know what that is? That's the sports chat for my son's football team. Because sports. So when we think about the Libra archetype, this is really interpersonal relationships. When, Libra is ruled by Venus differently than Taurus is ruled by Venus. We have both signs ruled by Venus, but the Libran rulership of Venus is actually really relationships and the dynamic that exists between us and others. And where do we sit with it? What is the energy that we feel in our relationships? There's a lot with the solar journey of a Libra around victimhood. Being able to recognize when we feel powerless against things, when we feel powerless within a relationship, when we feel a sense of unfairness. The scales of balance are not simply just the, things being in balance and fair. When we're thinking of fairness, it's a very deep level of fairness in terms of how are we perceiving our experiences? How are we perceiving our role in our experiences? Are we taking ownership of things? So to me right now, when I think about what's happening in the collective and I think about the Libran energy, this is a time to explore how are we being affected by other people? How are we affecting other people? Okay, because it's a two-way street. We're participating. And this is within our own, family relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, personal relationships, but then also on a bigger scale. All right, because everything is from the macro to the micro. It all matters. And there will be parallels because, like Bron mentioned, when we're thinking of paradigms and how are you coming up against those paradigms, that those paradigms are existing not only in the world and what you're seeing, but also within your own personal life. Okay. Where we could take an example of, let's say you're in a lockdown. Let's say right now in the place that you live, you're being very, very restricted. Your freedom is restricted. Your choices are restricted. Bring that down when you think about how large that is for you on the scale of living your daily life, or maybe seeing people and traveling and what have you. Bring it down now to one relationship. Where are you locked down in one relationship? Where are you stuck? Where do you feel powerless, like you have no choice within the relationship? Because what we see on the bigger scale, we also have internally, because we're always going to be seeing what we feel internally. We're always going to perceive life from these structures of beliefs that we've had set in place for a really long time. And, I sent Bron a quote from my favorite astrologer, Robert Ahado, that I always talk about. And he talked about how a dark night of the soul, which is what the world is in right now, is a deconstruction and a disintegration, a pulling apart. All right. Things are being pulled apart. So right now in this Libra season, I think it behooves each of us to spend some time thinking about what needs to be pulled apart, what no longer serves us. What are we realizing and seeing with new eyes as being unfair and limited? And what does that mean for us? What is our participation there? How do we take our power back from things? How do we go from being a victim to being a victor? Because that's us.
I think, sorry, I was getting a bit excited when you were talking then, because I
can see you. You were like,
I was getting this, I was having a massive epiphany about something in my own experience, but also what I'm hearing is it's also, it's the relationship to self as well. How do we stop being a victim in the relationship to self? And I think I grew up with a Libran mother, and this was my epiphany as you were talking. I was like, holy moly, the Libran in shadow is martyrdom, right? My mum was a chronic martyr, and it was that fairness thing. And I knew she had that narrative of it's not fair. Right. And even I can think now to a conversation that we had when she visited me, 2 years ago, Nellie, since I've seen her, because we're in other states, and here in Australia, we are essentially confined to our home state, unless you want to, pay $3,000 to come back and quarantine at your own expense. So, we're kind of in that position. So I haven't seen my mum for a couple of years, but when I saw her, we had a conversation. I remember her telling me a story, and I realized, and it was a story from when she was a little girl, and it was when she had felt not seen, not heard, and completely invalidated by her father, overlooked, and it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. And I'm just hearing it all now, all through my mother's life, all of her story. And I took that on. It wasn't fair. I became the martyr, so I could say to people, well, it's not fair. It's not fair that I have to do that. And I could blame other things, and I could blame my circumstances, and I could, I could do that. So yeah, that's actually giving up our power to that narrative. And it's really sad when you see someone do that, because we're giving away our potential. Then we're giving away the limitless potential we are.
Yeah, because when our energy bucks up against that feeling of unfairness, it's almost like the invisible walls, right? When you perceive this sense of stuckness and unfairness, and my sister recorded a beautiful reading today on her YouTube channel, and this came through. So it's really in such alignment with what I think we're being called to look into, okay? Because right now, what you're perceiving as unfair isn't there to restrict you. It is there to develop your awareness of it, right? So your emotional response to anything in your life that feels really confining and really inescapable, or really just you wish that you didn't have to deal with it. You wish, like, you think, why me, right? When those are the thoughts going on in your head, why me? Then there's something there that needs your attention from a higher perspective. It is not, the world tells us, well, life isn't fair, and it is what it is, and you got to go with the flow. But I don't agree with that. I agree with the way that I look at it is, okay, I'm activated by something. I'm triggered by something. So where does my power lie in this? What am I being called to say or do differently that's going to change my circumstances? Do I have to buy into this reality right here, to this restriction, to this sense of unfairness? Or can I participate in this in a different way? I don't have to go with the flow, although surrender is an absolute must. There's a difference between co-creation, surrender, and working with the divine than just giving in and feeling defeated and feeling victimized and feeling like you got bad karma. We don't have bad karma. There's no such thing as bad karma. And for those of you that face really big challenges, that's because you're a kick-ass soul that came here on a mission to do some big time growth. So right now, I would say we should all be looking at, where are we feeling the imbalance? Where are we feeling the sense of power being taken from us? And then what do we need to shift in the way that we think about it? I can tell you that I've made decisions lately that are in alignment with me, are not in alignment with probably a lot of the current narrative of things. And that's where my power lies. And I'm okay with that. My power lies in my choice, in my decisions that feel in alignment with me, that sit right with me, for me. Not in judgment of any other options, not in judgment of other people's choices, because no one's choices matter to me. We're all here to experience things in the way that we need to experience them. So I think a lot of the energy that we want to have is this reflection of, okay, what's my participation in life right now? Where is my mind at? How am I seeing? How do I see a higher perspective? How do I take a potentially triggering emotional situation, let's say in a relationship, let's say in a marriage that is very difficult, a marriage where, we're not getting along, or I feel unhappy, I feel trapped, I feel whatever. How do I look at that from the higher perspective?
And I think that's where, sorry, to point. I'm like, hand up. Teacher.
What would you like to say?
Miss Kay. Yeah, no, I think, you know, the way that we take that higher perspective is look at the outcome we want. You know, where is that choice leading us? Where are our choices leading us, right? We make these choices and decisions about things, but where is it leading us? It's like I said before, it's not focusing on the information you have at hand. You know, if you're, like Lauren said, in a relationship, maybe it's a partner, maybe it's a husband, wife, whoever, whatever, you know, and you're having conflict, or a family member or something like that, you know, yes, you know, there's this happening, there's that happening, and we have a tendency to focus on all the problems and try to solve the problems from the problems, right? Which is so counterintuitive. When you're not going to solve a problem from a problem. So what is the solution that you want? What is the outcome that you want? How do you want that relationship to be? Even if you just, you know, I don't want any of that toxicity in my life. That could look like the relationship staying and getting better. It could look like the relationship falling away, either or. But just making that commitment to, I want healthy relationships. I want wholesome relationships. I want relationships where I feel supported, whatever it is that you determine. And then that is all you are going to move toward. There is no other option. There is nothing else. It's just, that's what I want. And that's what I'm going for. And then you have to not listen to the devil and poke away at the details. Well, how is that going to look? Because if I don't want a toxic relationship and this is a toxic relationship, well, I'm going to have to get some money together so I can get out, and blah, 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 blah. And that's going to take me this long. And so I'm going to be stuck here for another 5 years. Oh my God, I'm going to be stuck here for another, oh, gee. And, you know, suddenly we're just stuck in the paradigm.
Mm-hmm. And we're back, and we're right down in the hole of restriction, because we're putting all of these expectations of how it's supposed to happen. But the thing is, that's not how co-creation works. What we see is we connect with the energy of what we want. We connect with the energy of the relationship that we want. Even if this is in manifestation, even if you're single right now, it's manifesting and drawing into your energy field the experience that you wish to have. You don't have to have the roadmap. We don't get a roadmap, because spirit creates the roadmap as we go. Mm-hmm. And that's the magical thing that happens, is that we just need to see one step at a time. I always say, I used to create an image for my students of a yellow brick road, but you only see one brick at a time. You take the step onto this brick, and then the next brick shows up. That's how it works. So if we get trapped in that Libran shadow of paralysis because we're afraid to move, we're afraid to make a move because we're overwhelmed by how big of a change it feels, or how impossible of a change it might feel, we're not doing ourselves any service. We're just staying down there, right? We're not taking the first step to move away from it. Your guide is always your heart. It's always your higher self. You're always going to be called towards what's right for you, the energy that's right for you, the love that you deserve, because that's another piece of the Libran energy, is also worthiness. Really, really connecting with self-worth. Well, what does that mean for Libra sons? You guys are going to constantly be confronted with lessons on developing self-love and developing a really deep sense of self-worth and soul esteem. That's part of the sun journey of a Libra. So for all of us in the Libra season, we may find that we're going to have some moments this season where we are having to choose ourselves, and we are having to love ourselves and look at ourselves with compassion, and speak to ourselves the way that we would speak to our dearest friend, the way that we can look at each other and tell each other, oh, JD, Libra, sun and moon. Wow, girl, it's your season.
For sure.
But that's the journey. That's the potential, right? And when you love yourself so much, when you're able to see your own value and realize that you don't have to earn the value, you don't have to look a certain way, you don't have to be a certain thing, you don't have to have certain things. Like you're beautiful and perfect exactly as you are. You don't have to earn that. And when you can actually truly start to connect with that as a truth, which is a hard truth, because you got to bust out of the paradigms that the world and people like the Kardashians have created.
Well, not just that, we've created, right? It's more busting out the paradigms that we ourselves have created based on, you know, what we've experienced in our life. That's the biggest paradigm that we butt up against, is really, and that's the thing, the illusion that we are confined by this collective paradigm is exactly that, an illusion. Because individually we have created that collective paradigm. It is our own individual paradigms that have trapped us in the collective paradigm, and we're trying to fight the collective paradigm. If we all went inward and actually worked on the inner paradigm, the collective paradigm, this one would not exist. This one of entrapment, trauma, fear, stuck, uncertain, all of that wouldn't be. Limitation, it wouldn't be.
Do you know that I actually think to myself, and I actually tell myself, the world's reality is not my reality. I don't subscribe to it. I don't participate. I shouldn't say I don't participate. Of course I do. But there are times when I remind myself I don't have to participate. I don't have to believe certain things. I don't have to be afraid of the things that everybody's afraid of. I don't have to participate to the extent that everyone else is participating.
By default. We don't have to participate by default.
Right. And it's really
we participate by choice.
That's just it. And it's funny because when I had my birth chart analyzed by an astrologer, he said to me, he's like, you think the rules don't apply to you? He's like, that's in your nature. And I was like, yes, I have always thought that. And I was like, I'm so glad you're saying that. That's like a real thing. I've always just assumed everything will work out for me. Everything will be fine. I will always pass the class, pass the test, or maybe not pass the test, but pass the class. I will always find a solution to my problem. I will always be forgiven when I mess up. I will just always eventually have exactly what I'm seeking. I believe that wholeheartedly. Part of that might be like maybe the Scorpio in me, that might be kind of wired into me, but that energy is available to all of us. Okay. And that's a really awesome, powerful energy to have. When you can say, and when you can look at something in your life and you can say, well, the rules don't apply to me for that. I don't have to be the statistical norm in anything. Just because, the experts say something, that doesn't mean that that's true for me. What's true for me is what my soul decides, what my higher self knows is in my highest good in this moment. Doesn't mean everything works out for me all the time or that life is easy. But it does give me a sense of strength and an absolute armor energetically in terms of how I interact with the things that can show up in my life.
Absolutely.
Is that crazy? But that's the truth of me.
No, well, and I mean, that's the whole point of, having that certainty and surrendering to that certainty. And again, not letting ego take over. And I mean, there's always the times where ego creeps in. And this is what I mean. It's not, people are like, well, you got to kill the ego then, get rid of it, knock it off your shoulder entirely. Well, you can't, because when you do that, guess what? You become simple, super conscious. You are no longer in the human form. The human form necessitates ego in order to keep us in the human form, kicking and screaming and breathing our divine expression. Otherwise, we would do things that were beyond the capacity at this time of this human form and probably regret it and end up killing the ego, right? And that, so, while we are here having this experience as this divine expression, we have to learn to live with ego, and we have to learn to recognize it when it starts arcing up and going, hang on a minute, stay safe in your paradigm. Based on all of the information around you, this is what we know, this is what's safe. You've got to recognize when that voice comes up, and rather than kind of trying to bash it like a whack-a-mole, you got to make friends with it, right? And say, it's okay. It's actually okay. We have done things before. Yes, these have been the outcomes, but remember the growth that happened. Remember the learning that happened. Remember, we're here now. Like we're here now in a better position because of that all falling apart. So it's okay. And if we make this decision and something all falls apart, it's okay.
And if something all falls apart, it was meant to fall apart.
Correct. So that something else could be built from the ashes of that. And that's how it works. You can't have creation without destruction, but we cling to what we have because, our ego says that's all we know and that's all we've got. And we need that to survive. And it's, I guess from that perspective, what I would love people to feel into is, what is it that you want to create intentionally, in alignment? What is it that you just feel really compelled and called to create? Regardless of everything that's happening in the world right now, regardless of all of the information you have at hand, I don't care whether you've got 2 cents to your name and you want to be a billionaire, right? Like, if that's what you want, commit to it right here and right now, and decide, make the decision. Just make the decision, commit, and go, this is it. This is the only thing. And you'll know when it's the decision, because you'll feel a mixture of things. You'll feel like, whoo, and you'll also feel, oh my God. And, it will just be this sort of full body sensation, almost like an out of body sensation of, I don't know, this is, oh my God, am I doing this? Oh, I did. And you'll have all the doubts will creep in. The devil will start up, recognize it, but just make a commitment to yourself in this energy, use this energy to make that commitment, and know that when you are moving forward, that is all just going to unfold for you then, as soon as you commit to it. But it takes the commitment, it takes the decisive, yes, I am doing this. There is nothing else. There is no other option. It's interesting we're having this conversation now, because I stood out we've still got the beautiful harvest looking moon coming up over the mountain. And of course, it was my Piscean moon energy. So I stood under there last night, just completely called and compelled, after we'd had a little messenger chat, and did an invocation and spoke to my ancestors and the gods and the moon, and essentially committed myself to my calling, like just complete commitment. You have my complete commitment. Yeah. You have my complete service, whatever it takes. And I made that commitment.
And that's a powerful thing to commit to. That's true trust and surrender in whatever lies ahead. Because things unfold in ways that we can't predict.
Absolutely. And did it freak me out? Oh, hells yeah. I felt it in my root chakra. But at the same time, I also felt it in my root chakra. I felt that certainty. I felt that stability in that decision. Just making that decision, I felt the stability. I felt the certainty. I felt the support. I felt held. It was like, yep, we've got you. Let's do it.
Yeah. And then if, let's say, anything up ahead winds up disintegrating, think about the word to disintegrate. Well, the root, the base is integrate, come together, right? When we integrate something, we come together. So to disintegrate, we disconnect. There has to be disconnections in order for the new energy to be built up, right? We have to release so we can put it all back together in a different form. So when you commit to your highest good out of your self-love, out of your self-worth, out of the commitment to yourself, that is what makes all the difference. And I can tell you, even in the past, I guess about 6 months, I did something similar to what you described, what you did last night, where I wrote down my commitment to my calling and told spirit whatever it takes. And the past 6 months have been the hardest of my life. And not that, it's not showing up, when I think of my calling, sometimes I think of my job, but it's not just in the job sector. It's every aspect of my life. There are things that are pulling apart. And it's been really hard, but I also feel that sense of groundedness of everything is happening the way that it is supposed to happen. And I'm here for the ride, even though sometimes I hate it. Sometimes it's really hard, but I know ultimately this is, things are happening exactly as they should be, because I said yes to my life's mission. Because I feel that in my soul. I know what I'm here for. So, but that takes self-love and it takes work, right? So if you're somebody listening and you're thinking, I'm not where you are right now, right? I'm not even sure how I feel. I'm not even sure what I want or anything like that. It's okay to be there too, because that's how we all start. So start to feel into, where are you emotionally? What is a focus, maybe a focal point for you for this Libra season? Let's maybe make that our meditation to start, with our intention of, for each one of us to be shown by spirit what is our theme for this Libra season? What is maybe it's a particular relationship in your life. Maybe it's a situation in your life that needs to come into balance, things that need to get disintegrated to get reintegrated in a healthier way. What is it for you? So maybe that should be our focus. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the other thing too to remember about outcomes and goals, before I said, if you've got 2 cents to your name and you want to be a billionaire, the reason that you want to be a billionaire is not because of the status or the billionaires, right? Or the billions that you're going to have, the billions that you're going to have. The reason is because of what it is going to give you, right? So for me, I love the idea, and I've fallen in love with the idea of being a billionaire, because to me, being a billionaire means I am serving and helping a billion people. That's how I see it. The more I have, the more I can serve, the more I can extend my service, the more I can extend, all the things that I'm creating to serve people in the collective. So, it's the felt experience. And yeah, I think with what you're saying, Lauren, is just leaning into that felt experience. And like you said, choosing how, and the first step is to choose something simple. You don't have to go for $1 billion. You just, like you said, Lauren, choose something simple. What do you want that relationship to be? What do you want that thing in your life? What do you want the outcome of that thing in your life right now that's, maybe giving you a bit of grief, keeping you up at night, concerning you? What do you want that outcome to be? And hold that in your heart.
Right. Like with yours, when we think of $1 billion, what that really represents simply is that abundance. It's an abundance of resources. It's an abundance of time. It's an abundance of opportunity. That word billion is really the energetic. I'm trying to think of what is the visual, right? It's like the assignment. That word is the assignment to that sense of abundance. Well, what is the sense that you're looking for? What is that? Are you looking for love? Are you looking for peace? Are you looking for to be held and to be nurtured and to be supported? I feel that probably, especially in Libra season, we might all have more of a need for that. We might have that need where we really want to be seen and understood and respected. That's so important to give each other.
Absolutely.
No matter what,
absolutely.
we all deserve it.
Totally agree. Should we pull some cards?
I know. You guys want to do a reading? Okay.
We've been chatting for a bit. Thank you to all who are still here with us. To a very long conversation. That was a rather large introduction, I think, to this reading.
But you know what? Spirit had all that to say. So we might not have needed the cards on that one, but nonetheless.
The cards are just fun, right?
I'm going to pull a Metatron card. What are you going to pull from?
I keep, going back to my Seasons of the Witch.
Oh, so. That's what
I have. Snap.
Yes, I got them. I'm not going to pull from them tonight. I'm going to leave that up to you. But I will say that the kids love these. They're like Halloween cards.
They're beautiful.
Had some great conversations with my lunch group.
Yeah, great Halloween gift, by the way. If you've got a loved one in your life who, I don't know, people gift Halloween things. But yeah, these are awesome. This is an amazing, amazing deck.
Yeah, any Libra birthdays out there, if you're somebody that's into cards, that is such a great deck. Oh, you know what else? I got another deck, actually. Oh my gosh, the card that just flew out when I was shuffling is so great. But I'm going to show you this other deck real quick. I'll pull from it. Okay, so it's called The Oracle of the Shadows and Light.
I've got that one too, yeah.
You have this one too? I love the little fairies. They're so feisty.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love that one.
Maybe I'll pull from this deck tonight then. Okay. Oh, your husband is a Libra. I don't know who said that because it doesn't say the name, but that's awesome. There are some Libras in my life that I love dearly. My dad, my sister. Okay. So I'm going to start. This card came out, okay? This is from the Archangel Metatron deck, and it's leadership. Answer the call. And I could not love this card more for this conversation. This is number 8 card, and 8 to me is always the magician's number. This is always a creative energy. It is a very positive number in numerology. 8, turn it sideways, is the infinity symbol. Okay. This card is absolutely a message to each one of us for our own personal journey. Where do we need to step up in leadership for ourselves in our own lives? Where are we giving away our power and letting others make choices for us or create circumstances for us that we're not okay with? What do we need to step into our leadership role for? And just notice that, you see like the winding staircase with the torch. We don't see the top of the staircase. We just see the beginning of the staircase. And we see this person, with the red robe, the root chakra energy, and then the crown chakra energy coming through. This is being led by spirit. This is being led by your higher self, your soul. So
reminds me of the ladder of light, stairway to heaven.
It does. And right here, wait, there we go. The keys. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The keys in the hand of what? Unlocking all the potential that lies before you, unlocking power that you didn't realize that you had, unlocking experiences that you didn't realize were possible for you. But you've got to be willing to go up the steps. You've got to be willing to shine your light and take one step at a time. I love this.
Even though you can't see what's ahead of you. And it's exactly what we were talking about before with following your soul's code and your soul's calling, right? It's exactly that.
Yes.
Mirrors and reflects exactly that message, even though you can't see what might be ahead of you or what the next step is. And there's no, plan A, B, C, D. There's no plan, right? You got to throw the plan book out and the rule book out altogether, because you are walking a path that is unique to you. And you can't see what's up there. You kind of have to just trust that what's up there is for you. So, yeah, I love that. And I actually had 2 cards fly out at the same time. So we have Wolf and Rebirth. I love the Rebirth card so, so much. Mm-hmm. The symbolism of this card is insane. To me, it absolutely represents a moment of birth here, right? Like, it just looks like what you would be looking at a moment of birth. Mm-hmm. It is, the ceremony, the invocation, the bringing something into the world, the creation. It's the divination, right, of what we are creating. And to me, this is what this represents, is this sort of ritual. It's like that ritual commitment that I was talking about and you were talking about, right, to whatever your calling is. And obviously this just leads perfectly off the back of, the card that you just pulled, right? Because in ascending up those stairs, it is this rebirth. It is like, if you look at it, even if you contemplate, near-death experiences, when people talk about near-death experiences and they're moving into this light, this divine light of acceptance and love. Look at that dude. He's moving into this divine light. If you look at this, it's this sort of coming out of the divine light.
Over here, but he's walking into the light. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So there's this darkness and light that leads to the rebirth. There's the destruction, as we were talking about before, and the creation. So, but we need to trust. We need to just go, okay, that is because that light represents the love, the acceptance, the unconditional stuff that we need to create with, right?
Yeah, we have a comment from YouTube from somebody, the undeserving said, women do not know love. And I think that's an interesting comment, because I think it speaks to the paradigms that we've existed in, the patriarchal society that we've all been born into for centuries and centuries and centuries. And I agree. I think that we are in, we're in a time where we have to break those paradigms and reclaim our power as women, because we know that we are deserving of love. That is an absolute, I think the rise of the divine feminine that's happening right now.
Yeah. And I would actually argue that it's not just women who don't know love, but the collective, really, who because, we see love from within the paradigm. We don't see love as the following the stairs up to the light. Mm-hmm. We see love as,
you need to play your role. You need to fit into what is expected of you.
The Hollywood version of love.
Yeah. No, you're bringing
with all the conditions.
But you're bringing up a really good point. I appreciate your comments and your participation, because and what's interesting with the way when you said it's everybody, when I think about men are really trained. We have what we call toxic masculinity, right? And we have this idea that men have to be tough and men have to be, display themselves in a certain way with the muscles and the dominance. And yet we have adult men, the majority of them, or probably all of them, I'd say, are really little boys walking around in need of love. Okay. So this isn't just
I think that little girls and little boys walking around in need of love, because we have been fed that whole paradigm, like we've been talking about, of what love is, and it's part of the illusion of what love is, and that's why we become so disappointed and jaded by love, and also
disappointed in each other.
Yeah.
And no need to apologize.
No need to apologize. Thank you. We like these conversations, and we think they're important to have. Yeah. These conversations are important to have. They're the conversations that are real. It's not all love and light and unicorns farting rainbows. So it's good when these things come up, and they come up for a reason. This is us following the yellow brick road, right? As it's coming up for us. I just want to read what this card says. Rebirth. There's death in all that awakens, for it isn't blissful nor painless. It's a mighty rising, O flame resurrected. So it is, if you think of birth, right, if you've given birth before, if you think of the birthing process, it is this intense, huge process of just going inward and feeling all consumed by this energy. You become all consumed by this energy. And if you think that you want to bring creation into the world, you need to be all consumed by it. You need to fall in love with it the same way that you fell in love with that baby the first time you looked at it, right? If you've ever done that, if you've experienced that. So it's the same thing, the first time you found love with someone and you felt that deep, deep connection. It's the falling in love with it. And regardless of the fires that you have to walk through, the initiations, the pain that might come with it, the destruction, it's just like, there is no other alternative or option. It does not matter. I'm willing to walk through that fire. And, when you're giving birth, that's what it becomes, right? I remember at one point when I was in labor going, no, actually, I'm not going to do this. You're going to have to find another way to get this thing out of me, because I ain't playing. I remember having that feeling for my first and just going, I can't, I'm not. No, like what you are asking me to do is humanly impossible.
I never got to, Jake was an emergency C-section, so I didn't get to go through the birth process, and that always makes me sad.
Well, yeah, that
pain because I was very, very.
You just went through it in a different way. Yeah, you went through it in a different way. Yeah. But that is how all-consuming it is. It's like, but that you've got no option. Yeah. There is no other alternative. There is no other possibility. There's nothing else.
You've got to do it. There's no.
You are there, right? A little bit late. Should have thought of that 9 months ago. So
there's such vulnerability in it, right? There's such you are brought down to the bottom, the basic level of survival.
Absolutely.
And of life and death. And as much as when we think of circumstances in life, it's not all life and death, but yet there are situations that put us into such a state of vulnerability and such a state of negotiating pain and discomfort and fear. Right.
And that's where the non-duality comes in, when you look at, because in that moment, not only are you in that mode of survival, which is very much the human instinct, you are also deeply connected to the divine. Yeah. The divine is with you in that moment, guiding that moment. So, you've got both happening, and that's the whole point. You need to be able to undertake the initiation without backing away from it, because it's asking you to push through the fire of what you know.
Yeah.
To get to the other side, and the pain and the discomfort. Correct. And then you've got Wolf, which came out as well. Devour the ferocious calling within the howling of your spirit. Run wildly into the freedom of your knowing.
I mean, there it is, leadership. The wolf. I love the wolf totem coming through.
It's
like the wolf totem is so powerful.
Beautiful. It is. It absolutely is. And I love this card as well. I mean, all of the symbology here, and, you've got the beautiful moon over here, which we're still in that beautiful full moon energy. You've got symbols of transformation, and the wolf is just letting go and howling at the moon. The wolf is howling at the moon. The wolf is like, to me, when the wolf howls at the moon, it's the wolf making that pact.
Yeah.
Right. It's the wolf saying, I will lead my pack. I will lead my tribe. I will be that, I will walk that.
I think of it as the communion with the divine.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So
down into that instinctual level, right? When a wolf howls at the moon, the wolf isn't hemming and hawing of, should I howl right now? Is now the right time to howl? Is anybody going to hear my howl? What are they going to think?
Are they going to like my howl? How many likes am I going to get on my howl? This is the thing, right? And that's what we mean. It's so interesting because, especially as entrepreneurs working in, on social media, we often are, stifling our howl. We're stifling our voice, I think, because we are concerned about the hows and the whys and the wherefores and the likes and things like that. And when we just let it fly, then, it's there. And we can be visible and we can be heard and we can connect in with our calling. So
yeah, it's definitely about giving into soul and trusting yourself, trusting where you're being led. So give me one second, Bron.
And just ignoring rude people.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just whoever. Let's say. Okay, it's taken care of. We don't have time for that.
No
time. Not an energy at all that exists within us. That's funny. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Bron. You're fantastic and you can talk as much as you want.
Well, I've kind of worked through a lot of the issues that I had around things like that. So it's kind of water off a duck's back now. Interesting participation. Especially given what we're talking about, right? This is total reflection of what we're talking about.
It's so funny. I don't think Facebook people or Instagram maybe could see this, although I don't think it's on Instagram. No. Facebook users are able to see those comments that we were saying.
Yes. Yeah. We were having a little interaction with an interesting person who came on.
Yeah. And it was fine to interact.
Brought up a good point.
Until it became it was just rude. But when your username is the undeserving, there's issues, right? With self-worth. I mean, I hope that they got out of this Libra talk what they needed to get out of it. They were here for the time they needed to be here. Now they're no longer participating. So I'm getting such a kick out of this. I'm hoping, to be honest with you, I'm like, oh my God, please don't let this be one of my students, because I know they're supposed to be on YouTube, and that could actually happen. Because I can't control who sees me on YouTube, and I don't want to cancel my channel because of that, but I'm not even kidding you. I wouldn't be shocked.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Yeah. So, because that was a 14-year-old remark, but
they can come from adults as well, though.
I know it totally can, but it just the inner child was talking,
especially on social media.
So I love these messages. I love what we're being guided to think about. Okay, so we don't have room for negativity. Exactly. I love.
Well, like I said, I think it was a good demonstration of our little message here.
Yeah. So think about, okay, so we're getting leadership, we're getting the wolf totem, we're getting this idea of we are being rebirthed. And I feel like rebirth has been coming through since 2020, because that is what the world is going through right now. But really, again, that empowering message of, listen, Spirit knows that it's uncomfortable for us. Our team is well aware of the transmutation of energies that we are all working with. And we're all going through it. Whether you are conscious of it and you use words like transmutation or not, doesn't even matter. This is the language we speak, but we're all experiencing it regardless of how aware we are of that. Okay. So when you look at your fellow people, when you look at the people in your life, when you look at society as a whole, and you see the reactions that people are having, and you see the struggles that people are having emotionally, understand that this is because that disintegration, that pulling apart of what was stable, what was perceived as stable, what was perceived as the norm and familiar and safe, is truly being taken away. So we need to have compassion with each other. And not everybody's going to be ready to embrace the rebirth process. Not everyone's going to be ready to howl at their moon. Okay. Not everyone's going to be ready to take up this torch and march on up the stairs. So for those of you that are on, to me, if you're on here, you're with us on those stairs. You've got your staircase, we've got ours, and we're all in this together. So really operate from your highest self, okay? And to me, like, especially with the way that you're looking at other people and the way that you're interacting with them, because there's no room for judgment. Just like we don't have room for judgment on this live, there's just no room for judgment at all, because everybody is at their own moment in time with their spiritual evolution. Not everybody is on a soul mission in this lifetime to awaken. Some of us, many of us, are here to experience things that are really hard. And it's not necessarily meant to wake us up to the soul being that we are. Not everyone is going to have conversations like we have, and it doesn't make them any less, us any better. It just is what it is. So during this Libra season, I urge everyone to look at everybody you come in contact with compassion, with acceptance. You don't need to understand them. What you need to do, and what I think we need to be doing, is simply holding our power, holding our center, holding our space of groundedness, trusting ourselves, howling at our moon, okay? Taking the action on what is right for us. I also want to say, Bron, I feel like there's some throat chakra energy coming through here with the howling wolf.
Absolutely.
Also, even with, well, I mean, this is more purplish, but I think, like, when I think of the upper chakras, I think of, from the heart above, I think of the throat, the third eye, and the crown all working coordinated together in terms of what we're expressing and putting out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I would 100% agree with that. And again, even this interesting interaction we had here was an expression of that, as far as I'm concerned. That trying to shut down is an expression of the throat chakra. So, really very, very potent message coming through in various ways on this reading, right? Not just with the reading we had, not just with the cards, but also with random comments, bringing together the message that is very loud and clear. And yes, it is. We are very much being asked to express ourselves, express our truth. And even if you're not, creating some, I think when people hear soul's calling and soul's code and all this sort of stuff, they think, I've got to go off and create a big empire or something. I've got to change the world. I've got to do something phenomenal. And that's not really it. It's all you need to do. Hey, Jake.
Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
Put your face in the camera if you're going to say hi. Hi. All right, go away.
All you really need to do is use your voice and stand in your truth and your power. That is following your soul's code and following your soul's calling. It's not creating the big thing. It's not, any of that. What you are sharing with the world is your unique power, your unique voice, your unique gift. And that's really what it's about, just allowing that to come forth, to come through you, and to stand in that and to speak that. So, yeah, I mean, devour the ferocious calling within the howling of your spirit. Devour it and then let it come out of you. Yeah. Let it be spoken through you.
Yeah, because your soul's calling is to just be your authentic self. That is
Correct.
What our soul's calling is. And, that's why it isn't about a job. It isn't about a title. It isn't about any particular role. Your soul's calling is to be authentically you in any given moment. And so let that lead your choices in this Libra season. Let your fulfillment, let your satisfaction, let your feeling of contentment, of being able to lay your head on the pillow at night and know that you've done well, that you've done the best you can for yourself, as well as the other people that you come in contact with, that you interact with, because we are all playing a role for each other and we need to honor
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And as you said, Lauren, have compassion for where everyone is on their journey. You know, and recognize that a lot of what people are putting out at the moment is just a projection of how they're feeling, of where they're at, of, you know, the anger, the frustration, the division. It's just a projection of the fear and uncertainty people are feeling. You know, try not to take it personally, is what I would suggest. You know, it really is that. And it can be hard. You know, I mean, there was that little thing here, but I've also had, you know, people who have made comments and things on posts of mine that, you know, you would think when it's family, you're not going to necessarily say that, but sometimes you do. You know, sometimes it is our family who is triggered by us and, you know, feels that fear rise up and projects that. So it can be a difficult road. And that's why you also need to really hold that self-compassion first and foremost. You know, have compassion for yourself, you know, and in doing so, know what to just, you know, leave behind. Know yourself enough to know, and know your goal enough, know your mission enough, be dedicated enough, like we were talking about before, be committed enough to that calling to not be bothered by any of the other stuff. You know, it's just things that happen, and it doesn't happen because of you. It's happening because of the person experiencing you.
Yep.
Really is a good way to look at it and reframe it, because I think otherwise people get caught up in it and they, like, you know, go, oh, and it silences them.
We got fire, dragon's strength. Wow. What an awesome card for this reading. Just look at that sacral chakra, fire, birthing energy. Can you stand it? Like total alignment. Dragon, that's what we need to be using, guys. Dragon strength. And what does the dragon do? It breathes fire. It allows things to burn up what's in its path, right? The obstacles
Absolutely.
show up. So,
and we can do that with our voice. That, like, you think about it, that consume, you know, devour the calling, devour the ferocious calling. It's exactly what we were talking about, right? And then letting it rise up out of you. And it's the same with the dragon energy, breathing fire. We breathe forth our words and create.
Yeah. I love it.
I love that. That's awesome.
We're being taught to be strong. All right. So let's say, you know, you find yourself in a situation and you're triggered and you find yourself you want to be quiet. You're like, okay, I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to say this because it might upset somebody. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to be judged for my opinion. I don't want to ruffle feathers. I don't think this is the time to hold back when your words and your voice come from a balanced, empowered place. You don't need to engage in disagreements and arguments or petty levels of communication with name calling and needing to win or dominate. Self-expression isn't ever about dominating anybody else. When you speak with power, it's not because the words that are coming out win over somebody else. It's simply that they are in alignment with your truth, and that's all that matters. How they land and are perceived by somebody listening, that is on them, because that's going to be their filter that they're taking that in from. So this season is definitely calling us to honor what we need to express from a place of empowerment, self-compassion, compassion for others. You know, I had to say something last night to a fellow at the football field who was really rude to me last week. Or maybe at this point, it was actually the week before. This person made fun of me. He mocked me in front of a crowd because his dog was off the leash and I had my dog on the leash. I was walking my dog, but my dog just had surgery and had stitches. Plus, I'm not a huge fan of dogs meeting on a leash. I feel like that could spark some tension, and I'm just not, I don't take my dog to dog parks. He's a one dog kind of guy. So he doesn't really care about friends. So long story short, the dog runs up and I said, "Can you get your dog, please?" And I had to call because he's like far away. He wasn't paying attention to his dog. And apparently when I walked away, he started making fun of me to the group and imitating me, right? So I hear this and I'm like so triggered by it. I'm like, oh my God, what are we in high school? Like not even elementary school? Like, what are we doing? Meanwhile, and then I'm thinking of all the reasons why I'm right and he's wrong and whatever. Long story short, I saw him last night. as I was dropping off my son, and he was walking by me and he smiled to say hello. And I was like, oh, hello. And I said, hey, listen, when I asked you to get your dog, there was no reason for you to mock me or mimic me. My dog had surgery. I'm not comfortable with my dog being other dogs. I said, and there's just absolutely no need for you to behave that way. And you could see he was like totally taken aback. And like the 10-year-old boy in him was like backing away, like I was lecturing him. And he started to justify it. He's like, well, I didn't know your dog had surgery. And I go, it doesn't matter what you know. I said, all that matters is respect. And there was no need for you to behave that way. Have a wonderful night. And I walked away because that was me speaking. You know, I have a very open throat chakra. I've learned how to tame it, but I was firm because he disrespected me, and it really irritated me because it was so childish. And I just felt like he needed to be kind of checked on that. But I did it in a respectful way to him. I didn't call him names. I didn't like freak out. I just said there was no need to do that. And that's it. Don't ever speak about me like that again. It was unnecessary. Have a nice night.
And he probably won't do it to anybody else after that. They'll think twice.
He'll avoid me at all costs.
He'll hear your voice in his head telling him off.
Well, you could tell that like my energy like hit him in the face. Like he like didn't see it coming. And like I don't, you know, I don't have a problem with confrontation. I don't know if you're asking me or Bron, but yes, I get my hair highlighted.
Lauren's hair looks colored. Mine does not. So yes, I'm assuming it's you because it looks really gorgeous.
No, just you want to show them that Jake has me up on YouTube on my phone. So he wants to show how, you know, it's happening in live and living color as well as on my phone. Okay, bye. Peace out. Come on. Get out of here.
Thanks, Jake.
But that, to me, that's the communication, right? Because when you speak from just a place of strength, and that's it, you don't have to worry about how somebody else takes it. You don't have to worry about hurting feelings because I just spoke the truth. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of what it calls for. Truth is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of it.
Should we catch up on a few comments? Lisa, looking at all this discomfort as the hopefully beginning of a rebirth makes it a little easier to sit with. It definitely does. Yeah. And, you know, and it is the message that's coming through. And Lauren, you and I have talked about this, you know, the new way, the new world is not set in stone. So, you know, it could still be anything. There are all sorts of possibilities and potential.
Yeah. You know, when I think about because we talked about this with this new world being still up for molding and creation, we are existing in a time when our throat chakras want to be closed because we are living in cancel culture. We are living in a time of massive censorship. That is not okay. All right. Because energetically as human beings, when we feel restricted and when we can't self-express and when we can't be in authenticity and authentic alignment with our beliefs and our feelings and our emotions, that's just unhealthy for us. Right. So something to keep in mind, again, why I feel like this is a really important message coming through is to not hold back out of that fear of judgment or fear of ruffling feathers or being in disagreement or having a different perspective on things. I think that there are millions of people right now with all these different perspectives that are silent because they are being made to doubt their own perceptions. And we are all experiencing this, you know, this collective issue from different perspectives, from our own experiences, from our own belief systems, from our own tribal paradigms that we were born into. We have to respect that, but then we also have to have that strength, right? Yeah. To be able to stand in our power and not shut our mouths just to fit in or make other people happy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can't see names. I don't know if you can see names, but I'm assuming it's people in your group. I'm here to do what I need and help in any way I can, accept those as they are and not join in on the mass chaos. It's the best way to be, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Loving being the real me, and all of you have helped me accept my true self so much more. Thank you to all of you and so much love to each and every one of you. Oh, that's beautiful. Is that you, Chris?
It's totally. I'm guessing, but
that's a gorgeous Chris comment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, I'm imagining Chris saying that. Did you color your hair? Love it. Yes, I love it too. I'm an in-your-face kind of talker too. Yep. Everyone's loving on your hair, and Jake is adorable.
Well, thank you.
Lisa, yes, exactly. I feel it physically. It's so uncomfortable. Yeah, and that's the whole point, right? That's the discomfort that we've been talking about in that rebirthing process. Because the death is the discomfort. When we go through that rebirth, there is naturally, and we talked about this as well, Lauren. You were talking about it with the the disintegration of the paradigm, we're all grieving. There's a collective grieving going on, because it's like, well, this identity that we have held collectively is dying, is really essentially what's happening. And we're all feeling it, and we're all grieving it at the same time as dealing with the uncertainty of what's on the other side. What does the rebirth look like?
Yep.
So yeah, I think that just honoring even that feeling of discomfort, Lisa, is really important for us to do at this time. Just allowing ourselves to sit in it, sit with it for a minute. Just don't get stuck in it. And how do we not get stuck in it? We circle all the way back to where we started, by committing to that thing and moving forward, no matter what. No matter what's happening, or the chaos or the discombobulation that's coming at you, or other people in disagreement, or whatever it might be, we keep going.
You make decisions that are best for you, and you
Correct.
don't need to justify it to other people. And again, this is where that open throat chakra, like, you need to say what you need to say, you need to do what you need to do. It's really a commitment to self that we're all being called for. And even with that rebirth card, if you hold it up again, you notice the three witches are watching the fire burn, and they're celebrating it. And I look at them, and I feel like symbolically they're the angels. They're that spirit watching what's happening in our lives on the planet, knowing that this is a good thing, and it's happening for a reason, because the old energy had to burn up. It has to get transmuted. It has to change. It has to get shifted. So the angels, I feel like right now, I constantly get this dual message from my guides of, we know it's so hard and we're so sorry for that, but it's so important and it's so good. And trust us, it's going to be good. Like, everything's okay, right? Everything is okay. You are love. We are love. Everything is love. Even the hard stuff. Every single aspect of consciousness in this life, what we see, what we experience, every physical object, inanimate or animate, doesn't make a difference. Living or not, it doesn't make a difference. Every single thing you see is composed of energy, source energy. So even the really hard things, like even COVID, the virus of COVID is from source. Even if it was created by man and it was a mistake, it's still created by source, and it's still here for a reason. So this is why it's so important to not get stuck in the blame and the victimization of it and the powerlessness of it, because there are no mistakes. There just aren't. God is perfect. Source energy is perfect. So it's up to us to remember who we are as souls, that we agreed to come here and trust. We agreed to live in this life and to incarnate for really specific experiences and reasons. The world needs our light right now more than ever. What is your light? It's your self-love. It's your self-trust. That's how you light up. When people say, like, you're glowing, think about when you've ever been told you're glowing. Think about if somebody has ever said to you, wow, you look amazing. You're like glowing. You look so good. Why? Why were you so happy in that moment? What decision had you made? What change had you created in your life? Doesn't that always happen when somebody sees you and something's new and different, and they're like, something's different? We pick up on it. Why? Because the people that we're seeing glowing are the people who are living in their authenticity. And that's just, it's that from within light that comes out. It's the light that shines out of our eyes, and it's in our tone of voice, and it's in our energy field. That's how you know you're in alignment.
Absolutely. And I think the interesting thing is, people, it's like moths to a flame, right? Like, it's me, Chris. It's me, Mario, Chris. We froze. I just saw it's me, Chris, and it reminded me of it's me, Mario. I think we talk about moths to a flame and people being drawn to the light. And I really think that's what happens, people want that. They're seeking it out, you know, and we see it when you're in that space. You know, people want to be around you. They want to connect with you. They want to chat to you and talk to you. Like, you know, it's just a really lovely energy to be in because people are needing that. You know, we need that for ourselves. And when we're giving it to ourselves, other people gravitate to it as well because they're like, oh, this is what I need. So, you know, they sense it in you because they need it in themselves. And you know, when you can hold space like that for people to, you know, come into that and embody that for themselves, it's a beautiful gift to give.
Absolutely.
And again, this is where our service comes in. It's not necessarily I'm going to go out and be a healer, but in just holding your space in your own self-love and self-compassion, you are giving that to other people. You are inviting them to step into that space for themselves. You know, and you'll notice it, you'll see it, you know, in people who'll gravitate to you, who'll want to talk to you more, who just want to be around your energy.
Yeah.
Because it feels good. And you know it feels good to be around people like that. You know, we want to be around people like that.
That's why I hang out with Bron all the time.
And likewise with Lauren and all of my beautiful peeps that I have in my life, right? Because their energy is just so uplifting and so amazing. And you know, we're not there to kind of steal that energy from one another. We want to all uplift together, to all elevate together, to all grow together and expand together. And we're not, you know, the more you embody that and be that, the less you draw into your space energy that is depleting or is going to take from you and things like that. So it's just it's a really nice way to, you know, I always say to people, you don't necessarily want to protect yourself. You just want to love and have compassion and determine that in this self-love, in this self-compassion, this is what I will and won't accept for myself.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And yeah, when I smile, everyone is drawn to me and they say they can't stop smiling because of my smile. Absolutely. I'm also told your aura is just amazing. I have to be near you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a beautiful way to be. And you know, I often think
to people.
Yeah. And I often think when we're connected into our inner child, that's been coming up a lot too. And I know we've talked about it a bit here. But when we're really connected with the inner child, we have that self-compassion and self-love for the inner child. I think that playful energy draws people in as well. People feel that and experience that, and it awakens their inner child. And they want to play. You know, it's like, you know how when you're in this school ground and you like see it and you just like go up to someone and you want to play with them. I mean, as kids, we don't have the inhibitions we have as adults.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, you know, I think when we're in that beautiful childlike energy of play, people are drawn to that as well. Because, you know, their little kid goes, oh, I'm going to go over there and play with that person. And, you know, sometimes before the adult knows what they're doing, they're having a conversation with someone, right? And yeah, so I think it's just seeing ourselves, honoring our voice, honoring our truth. I think that allows us to see others and to do the same in kind.
And not everybody will be ready to do that for themselves. And some people will behave in ways that, you know, could feel competitive or resentful or vindictive, or, you know, they behave in ways that you might not want to be around. All right. That's also going to be coming up. We're going to have the duality of that. And that's okay. Seeing them, that they are stuck in the fears, stuck in the narratives that are keeping them trapped. And when you see people behaving in a way, like I always think like, when somebody is like incredibly competitive or somebody is manipulative, that's really based on fear. All right. Fear of not being good enough, fear of being, you know, seen as a failure or not being worthy of love, right? Having to hustle for worthiness. Just when we recognize that in others, we're then more self-aware to catch ourselves when that little devil is talking and keeping us there, right? So everything is always a mirror. So pay attention to what other people are expressing around you, because it's training you to recognize the same thing that exists within you, because we all what we see, you can only see it because it's inside. All right. We can only see the bad behavior or the fear or the whatever. Okay. Because we have it too. We have that potential. We all do. So rather than becoming critical or judgmental of it, it's the recognition of, okay, that's where they're operating from. I could totally go there as well. But because I recognize that, I'm choosing not to. And that's working with your consciousness and intention.
That's where our power lies.
Mm-hmm.
The choices we're making. Yes. I love this. This has been an amazing, phenomenal reading.
Thanks for joining me.
It's been wonderful. I didn't really have anything else to do on a Saturday morning aside from swan around in my pajamas. So I was quite happy to come on. I mean, how could I resist that invitation?
I know. I was just like, I want to do a reading. I think I want Bron to do it with me. Let's just see if she's up for it.
Yeah, totally. Does anyone, I don't know if anyone has any questions while we're still here or anything that they want clarification on. So true, seeing others do things I don't care for. I know things I don't care for in me. Yep. And I work more on those issues. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting when we start to view the world from this different perspective, I think. And, it's fascinating because I think as children, we see ourselves as the center of the universe, right? And then we're kind of taught that that's selfish to see yourself as the center of the universe. But in a way, we are the center of the universe and we are all the universe. So, we are a part of that. So I think when we can bring it back to that childlike wonder, even just about ourselves, and the role we're playing in our own life, not in anything else, just in our own life. What role are we playing? What identity are we taking on? I think that's, when we can look at that from the curious wonder of the child, it really gives us a different perspective and a different insight. And, again, more power over our choices, more power over the direction we're taking, more power over what we're putting out into the world and what we're choosing to contribute. Amazing talk and reading.
To pull an archetype card to finish off.
Awesome.
So archetypes are patterns of behavior, patterns of thinking, patterns of engagement, with life. So what I mean by that is these are the energies that will show up in how you're thinking about yourself, how you're thinking about others, circumstances. It will show up in your words. It will show up in your actions. So what I'm going to ask Spirit for right now is to give us an archetype that will serve each of us during this Libra season. So now until about halfway through November. No, not quite halfway through November. I'm sorry, October. Yeah.
It's all right.
Getting ahead of myself. I'm jumping up to Scorpio season, because that's my season. I don't know. So selfish, Lauren. All right.
Because you're the center of the universe.
I'm my center of my universe. But FYI, we're all each other's, we're all just reflections of each other. All right. So what is the archetype that will serve all of us very well this Libra season, Spirit? What should we be working with? Okay. We're getting the orphan child archetype. This is so interesting. So here we are getting an archetype of the child. There's multiple child archetypes. And this is interesting. The light, there's a light and a shadow expression, you can see on this card, I keep having a hard time getting it centered. We have the light attributes and the shadow. Neither one of these are good or bad, What we see is really the highest potential in terms of the experience, in terms of working with the highest outcome and the highest good for all involved. And down in the shadow, what we see is what needs healing, what needs attention and love. So there is no judgment on this, but here's what the light attributes of the orphan child are. Independence based on learning to go it alone, conquering fear of surviving. Spirit is saying to us, if we work with the light attributes, and I will get to the shadow, but if we work with this energy of independence, well, what is an orphan child? A child who's been abandoned or has lost their parents. Wow, is that powerful? For the collective moment that we're in. We are seeing governments fall apart. We are seeing all of these structures in society up for like renegotiation, and this energy dynamic shifts between leadership. We're seeing it on every country of the world is impacted by when you think of the parental archetype, we think of who do we turn to for expertise, who do we turn to for leadership, for decisions, for creating the structure that we exist in, right? Your parents, you're born into your family, and that's your parents' role. They create your reality for you. They guide you. You look to them. You default to them. Well, now what Spirit is saying to us this Libra season, no longer should we be defaulting to anybody but ourselves. That is so powerful as an ending to this reading, because it's like, here's the summary of what we just talked about. So this sense of you're not feeling alone and lost and scared and in that state of fear because you've done anything wrong. It's because all of us, we're all in this moment of feeling like, you can see he's like sitting on top of the planet all by himself. That feeling of isolation is causing every single one of us to dig within and find our own leadership, right? We started off with that leadership from Metatron coming through. Now the shadow, because we always should talk about that, says feelings of abandonment that stifle maturation, seeking inappropriate surrogate families, being so afraid to be alone that we cling to toxic dynamics and toxic energies, right? And feeling victimized by that sense of abandonment, rather than saying, oh, okay, wait, everybody's gone. The parents are gone. Can I do this on my own? Can I create my own tribe? Can I create my own foundation? Can I create my own belief system? Do I trust myself enough to do that? Or am I going to default to somebody else's system?
It is. And it's part of the initiation as well. Like that moving into independence, we were talking about the initiation that we go through, the rite of passage that we go through to claim our gift, to claim our independence, to claim our soul's calling. And I think that one of the things that does keep us out of that, and of course we see it and I see it in the people I work with, the thing that keeps them disconnected is the wounded child. And generally the biggest wound that we all carry is abandonment. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it makes absolute perfect sense. And, we are also feeling abandoned by our, paradigm parent, our collective parental paradigm. We are feeling abandoned by that as well. And so there is that sense of, it's interesting because I think we're being asked to move away from the fear of, oh my God, I've got to go out on my own. Like this is almost we're all being called to do this deep inner child work and to heal these wounds that we've been carrying collectively and individually, so that we can step into that and move through that initiation and rite of passage into the creative expression that we are here to be.
I think even, when you think about it on a personal level, when I think about, I talk about this in my group all the time in my readings, my dad is ill with brain cancer. So to get this orphan child in this Libra season, unfortunately, is so fitting for what I'm personally going through. Again, the macro to the micro, everything on the collective is also happening in that inner solar system of your own personal life. So for me, very telling. Now, for my mom, she's unfortunately dealing with the loss of her husband, right? I mean, we haven't lost him, but in many ways we have, to the point where we can't even see him. We haven't seen him now in weeks because of COVID restrictions and such. So having to learn to go it alone, the fear of survival on your own. So for my mother, it's with her husband. For my sister and I, it's with our father, our actual parent. How is it showing up for you guys? If Spirit is saying that on some level, in some situation in our life, each of us are dealing with the orphan child, in what way this season might you really kind of pay attention to this? When does it show up where you're feeling alone? When you're feeling abandoned, when you're feeling like your partner or somebody that you could really rely on is somehow, maybe they're unavailable emotionally for you. Maybe physically you can't be with them, or you're on your own. You're feeling isolated. If and when this happens, and I'm going to guess that if you're listening to this, it's going to happen or it's already in the process of happening. Well, what do we all need to remember? We need to remember that this is a divine alignment. This is meant to be happening to us in whatever the scenario is. This is showing up because this is the time for it to show up. This is the time for the healing. Spirit is saying to us, this situation is not, again, It's not bad karma. You're not being punished. The pain that you might feel because of this, the fear that you might feel because of this is not meant to bring you down. It's meant to give you that jump off point, that bottom, that rock bottom of, now I have to change the way I do things. I have to change the way I think. I have to change the way, maybe my daily routine, my expectations. I would also call in gratitude when we're working with the orphan child. Really use gratitude as a coping mechanism, because when we're dealing with fear of the unknown and when we're dealing with feeling alone, we want to continue to constantly remind ourselves that we're actually not alone at all. Even if a person in our life is leaving or is gone, we're never alone. We have our higher self and our soul team doing all of this with us. Okay. So when we enact gratitude, when we pay attention to all the good things in our life and we start to allow that empty space to be refilled by the divine alignment of new people and new love and new energy, because an orphan child doesn't stay an orphan child. An orphan child is other people come into their lives. We're all going to be orphaned at some point. Right.
And when we contemplate it from that bigger picture perspective as well, it's only the sort of human ego that is orphaned. It's because, we belong to something more. We are all the children of God, universe, source, children of the earth as well. So we're never, it's almost, again, it comes back to the illusion, doesn't it, of the paradigm that we are going to be left alone. But you look at this, I mean, he's sitting on top of the world and, amazed, almost in wonderment of all around him, all that he is a part of, all
the energies, right? All those planets have their own personalities and role in his life. Like, there's nothing, those planets are archetypal energies that exist in each one of us and in the people in our lives, right? There is no alone here.
Mm-hmm.
And what does alone do? It forces us to pay attention to things differently, right? It forces us to see, well, what do we have? I might not have this right now or have it anymore, but what do I have? What is my attention being drawn to? If my attention, for me and my family, with this terminal illness with my father, it's forcing us to attend to other things. It's forcing us to see things from different perspectives. It's forcing us to come together in new ways. It's forcing us to grow together. My father's exit is because he's served his purpose in the physical life with us. He's never leaving. I know this. I know he woke my mom up the other night. I know on a soul level, my father's traveling and he's doing work while his body is still here. I know on a soul level, my dad is doing his thing. And that goes for everybody who is dealing with family members who are ill, who are not, consciously in their bodies as much as they used to be. Okay. So with that being said, if my father is leaving the physical dynamic that we've had here, there's a reason for it. All right. So what else do you need to attend to? What else needs your attention, needs your focus? What area do you need to grow in now? Because that's really what this is. All right. It's always going to be hey, it's time to step into your power. I've gotten you to this point, but I got to take my exit because now you got to do the next steps on your own. And that's really, really what it is in whatever the circumstances.
I love that. I love that card. What a beautiful, just a beautiful conclusion to all of the messages that have come through. It's been pretty wild. Lots and lots of stuff coming through. I think there's a lot to digest there. I'm thinking of all the things to devour, like that card said. But just amazing messages. And, it's really, I think, telling of the energy that is supporting us and holding us at this time. Like we were saying before, we are all held, we are all supported. And I feel like we're all being guided. As much as we're being asked to step into our leadership, I think we're being guided and held and led in alignment with that loving energy of the universe as well. So,
absolutely,
beautiful. We can all let the inner child out to play, knowing that we are safe and held and loved.
And your inner child is definitely able to lead you. So don't
doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, Bron, for joining me. Thank you, everybody who was on and all of you who stayed on for an hour and a half with us. You guys are awesome. Thanks for sharing your time with us and your energy. And for those of you that are on the replay, feel free to comment, leave your thoughts. We'll respond for sure. And we wish you a beautiful Libra season filled with empowerment and healing and love and all things good for your soul. And you've got this. And we're here for you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for inviting me for the impromptu reading. I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun. Yeah, no. I needed to prepare myself for the day anyway. I've got like things to. Oh, yeah. Lisa said that. Yeah. Go put my jammies back on. I love that. Yeah, no, I'll probably just add my beads to what I'm wearing, Lisa, and trot off down the street now. Get my day underway. But thank you. It got me acting. It got me mobile.
I think this reading is a great way to kick off a day.
It's fantastic. I've loved it. It's very, very inspired, very inspiring. So, yeah, thank you, universe.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.